No one must go near the sacred river tonight.
Uzor, Uzor, Uzor. The sound rolled across the village square like thunder wearing a smile, so loud that chickens scattered into nearby bushes, goats broke loose from their ropes, and one old woman dropped the basin of cassava she had been peeling. The shout came from 3 different directions at once. "I didn't do anything," a boy's voice replied before anyone had even accused him. That was Uzor for you, the only child in Abriba community who defended himself before the crime had even been announced. If stubbornness were an Olympic event, the villagers often joked that Uzor would not only win the gold medal, he would argue with the judges about why the medal wasn't heavy enough. At 12 years old, Uzor had become something of a village celebrity. Not because he was the strongest, not because he was the smartest, but because nobody, absolutely nobody, could successfully tell him what to do. His father, Mr. Chidi, once complained before the village elders. "If I tell this boy to sit down, the first thing he'll ask is whether the ground gave me permission to tell him." The elders laughed so hard that palm wine nearly sprayed from their noses. His mother, Mrs. Chidi, had her own version. "If I ask Uzor to fetch water, he'll first conduct an investigation into whether the pot is truly thirsty." The stories about Uzor grew with every passing month. One afternoon, he saw 2 goats locking horns. Instead of separating them like every sensible child would, he squatted beside them. What exactly started this disagreement? He remained there for nearly 20 minutes, nodding seriously as though he expected one goat to explain its side of the argument. Another time, he climbed the tallest mango tree in the village, not to pick mangoes, but because he wanted to know whether birds ever became tired of flying. When his father shouted from below, "Come down immediately," Uzor shouted back, "I will." 5 minutes passed. 10. 15. His father folded his arms. "So, why are you still up there?" "I said I will come down. I didn't say when." Even Mr. Chidi couldn't stop himself from laughing. "One day, this boy will negotiate with lightning," he muttered. Despite all his stubbornness, nobody could honestly say Uzor had a wicked heart. He shared whatever food he had. He defended children who were bullied. He helped old women carry firewood without being asked. If someone cried, Uzor was always the first to notice. He simply had one tiny problem. Rules made him curious. Whenever people said, "Don't go there," his mind immediately asked, "But why?" Whenever someone whispered, "Nobody should touch this," he wondered, what happens if someone does? His curiosity wasn't born from rebellion. It came from a heart that genuinely wanted to understand the world. Unfortunately, the world didn't always appreciate curious children. One bright Hamatan morning, the village crier walked through every path beating his enormous gong. "Gong, gong, 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 gong! Gong, 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 gong!" His deep voice echoed between mud houses. "Hear the words of our ancestors." Men abandoned their farming tools. Women emerged from kitchens. Children gathered under the giant Iroko tree. Even Uzor stopped chasing a stubborn chicken that had somehow escaped its owner's compound. The village chief stepped forward, wearing flowing traditional robes decorated with cowries. His face was unusually serious. Tomorrow is the festival of returning waters. A respectful silence fell. Even toddlers sensed something important was happening. The chief continued, "As our fathers did before us, and as their fathers did before them, we shall honor the spirits that protect our river." He lifted his staff. From sunset until sunrise, no human being must go near the sacred stream. His voice became even firmer. No fishing, no fetching water, no bathing. No wondering. No child. No adult. No exceptions. The villagers all nodded in agreement. Then, almost everyone instinctively turned to look at one person. Uzor? He blinked. What? The crowd burst into laughter. One old hunter pointed at him. If anybody will accidentally greet spirits tomorrow, it will be this boy. Even Mr. Chidi rubbed his forehead. Please, he placed both hands on Uzor's shoulders. For once in your life, just do as you're told. His mother added quickly, I'll even make your favorite pounded yam tomorrow. Uzor smiled. I promise. His mother narrowed his eyes. You promise? I promise. His father looked suspicious. You won't go near the river? I won't. The old women exchanged knowing glances. One whispered, when Uzor promises too quickly, the ancestors should prepare themselves. Laughter erupted again. That evening, preparations transformed Abriba into a festival of colors. Women pounded yam in giant wooden mortars. The rhythmic sound echoed through the village. Young girls decorated compounds with fresh palm fronds. Men slaughtered goats. Children danced around bonfires. The aroma of roasted plantain, pepper soup, and spicy suya drifted through every pathway. Drummers tested their instruments. Flute players rehearsed ancient melodies. Storytellers gathered beneath moonlit trees. The village glowed with happiness. But as darkness slowly settled over the land, something else began to awaken. Far beyond the dancing, beyond the laughter, beyond the songs, the sacred river lay perfectly still beneath the silver moon. Not a single frog croaked, not one cricket sang. It was as though nature itself had paused, waiting. Inside the Chidi household, everyone had gone to bed. Mr. Chidi snored loudly enough to frighten mosquitoes away. Mrs. Chidi slept peacefully after a long day of cooking. Uzor opened one eye, then the other. He stared at the ceiling. He rolled over, closed his eyes, opened them again. His curiosity wrestled with his promise. Why would spirits come out only tonight? What if the stories aren't true? And if they are, wouldn't this be the only chance anyone has to know? He sighed. I'll only look, no touching, no talking, I'll just see. He quietly stood up, slipped on his sandals, opened the wooden door as gently as possible. Behind him, a sleepy voice suddenly whispered, Uzor. He froze. It was his mother. Without opening her sleepy eyes, she murmured, Don't let your curiosity carry you somewhere your prayers cannot bring you back from. His heart skipped. For a brief moment, he almost stayed. Almost. But curiosity smiled louder than caution. He waited for her to sleep again, then he tiptoed into the moonlit night, towards the silent river, towards the greatest mystery Abriba had guarded for generations. Completely unaware that before dawn he would see something no living human was ever meant to witness. The closer Uzor came to the sacred river, the quieter the world became. Even the breeze seemed afraid to breathe. The moon hung unusually large above the forest, bathing every leaf in silver light. The narrow footpath that usually echoed with the chirping of crickets now lay wrapped in an unsettling silence. Crunch, crunch. His sandals pressed against dry leaves. Halfway there, he stopped. Maybe Mama was right. He scratched his head. I've seen enough darkness for one night. He turned around. Then curiosity whispered again. You've already come this far. He sighed dramatically. This curiosity will be the end of me. He turned back toward the river. The first thing he noticed wasn't the water. It was the light. The river glowed, not brightly, softly, as though thousands of tiny stars had sunk beneath its surface. Uzor rubbed his eyes. The glow became brighter. The water began to move, not like ordinary waves. It swirled gracefully in perfect circles. The air suddenly smelled of fresh rain, wild flowers, and something ancient he couldn't describe. Then, the drums started. Boom, boom, boom. Uzor spun around. Nobody. No drummers. Yet the rhythm echoed through the forest. A flute joined in. Then another. Soon the entire forest was alive with music. Music without musicians. His mouth slowly opened. I knew it. I knew nobody would believe this. The river slowly separated down the middle, not violently, beautifully, like two giant curtains made of crystal. From beneath the water, figures began to rise, women dressed in flowing white garments woven from shimmering mist, young men whose clothes looked as though moonlight itself had become fabric. Tiny glowing fish floated through the air instead of swimming. Massive turtles walked gracefully across the water as though it were polished stone. One elderly spirit carried a carved staff made from a tree that no longer existed. Another played a wooden flute without touching it. The melody floated by itself. Every spirit laughed. Every spirit danced. Some played traditional games. Others tossed glowing shells to one another like children playing catch. The atmosphere wasn't frightening. It felt joyful, peaceful, beautiful. Uzor forgot to blink. So, grandmother wasn't exaggerating after all. Suddenly, one small spirit child stopped laughing. He pointed toward the bushes. Every other spirit turned. Silence. The drums stopped. The dancing stopped. Even the floating fish froze. Hundreds of glowing eyes settled on one frightened 12-year-old boy. Uzor smiled nervously. Good evening. Nobody answered. He waved awkwardly. My name is Uzor. Still silence. He slowly raised one finger. I can explain. One elder spirit floated toward him. He had kind eyes. Long white hair flowed like river water. His voice sounded like many rivers speaking together. Child, do you know where you are? Uzor nodded. Yes. Then why are you here? He swallowed. Because everyone told me not to come. For 3 long seconds, nothing happened. Then, the elder spirit burst into laughter, a deep, contagious laughter that echoed across the river. Another spirit laughed, then another. Within seconds, the entire gathering erupted in laughter. One spirit woman laughed so hard she almost dropped the glowing basket she carried. A young spirit whispered, "He really said it." Another replied, "I like this child." Even Uzor started laughing. I knew it sounded bad after I said it. The elder wiped tears from his eyes. You are the first human in over 200 years to answer honestly. Uzor scratched his head. I don't know how to lie very well. We can see that. The elder slowly placed his glowing hand over his chest. Instantly, his smile faded. His eyes softened. He looked deeper, far deeper, past Uzor's stubbornness, past his curiosity, past every childish prank, until he reached something hidden beneath them all. A heart untouched by envy, free from hatred, full of kindness. The elder smiled. So, this is why. One younger spirit looked confused. Why what? The river allowed him to reach us. Gasps spread among the spirits. One whispered, "The river chose him?" The elder nodded slowly. "He is stubborn, very stubborn. Everyone laughed again. But he has never wished evil upon another soul. The elder stretched out one glowing finger. You ask too many questions. Uzor nodded. I know. You listen with your ears. I do. It is time to listen with hearts. The glowing finger gently touched Uzor's forehead. Everything exploded into light. Not painful, warm, like sunlight inside his head. Suddenly, thousands of whispers rushed into his mind. Not voices, thoughts. Trees thinking about rain, birds wondering where morning was, the river humming ancient songs. He covered his ears. It won't stop. The elder smiled. It will. Slowly, the whispers faded. Only one remained. The elder's one. Except the spirit hadn't spoken. Yet Uzor heard him clearly. Can you hear me? Uzor's eyes widened. You're not talking. The elder smiled. Neither are you. The other spirits clapped excitedly. It worked. He can hear thoughts. A human. A real human. One little spirit child floated toward Uzor. Can you hear me? Yes. I'm thinking about roasted yam. Uzor laughed. You really are. The little spirit gasped. He answered. Within seconds, the entire spirit crowded around him. Can you hear this? What number am I thinking? What color? What animal? Poor Uzor held his head. One at a time. I'm only one person. The spirits laughed until glowing tears rolled down their cheeks. The elder finally raised his staff. Silence returned. Listen carefully, Uzor. This gift is not for tricks. It is not for greed. It is not for showing off. It is only for helping others. If pride enters your heart, the gift will disappear. Uzor nodded seriously. I understand. The elder looked into his eyes. No, you don't. You will. Before leaving, the elder handed him a tiny smooth white stone. When confusion surrounds you, hold this. The truth will become clearer. Then the river slowly began closing. The spirits returned beneath the glowing water, one by one. The music faded. The floating fish disappeared. The mist dissolved. Within moments, everything looked ordinary again. Only the little white stone remained in Uzor's hand. He stared at it. He went back home, got into his room, and slept like nothing happened. The next morning, his mother was frying akara. His father sat outside repairing a broken bicycle. Uzor walked out rubbing sleepy eyes. Mrs. Chidi frowned. You are unusually quiet. I know. Mr. Chidi smiled. Did stubbornness finally leave your body? No, it only slept late. His father laughed. That's my son. Then something strange happened. Without opening his mouth, Mr. Chidi suddenly thought, I hope he never finds out I accidentally broke his catapult. Uzor looked at him. You broke my catapult? The old man froze. How did you know? Uzor blinked. I don't know. Mrs. Chidi suddenly thought, and I hid the last piece of meat behind the soup pot before this boy wakes up. Uzor walked straight to the kitchen, reached behind the soup pot, pulled out the meat. Mrs. Chidi screamed, Uzor! Mr. Chidi dropped the stool. Woman, did you tell him? I swear on my best cooking pot I didn't. They both stared at Uzor. I smiled innocently. I guessed. Mrs. Chidi folded her arms. No, you are your grandfather's grandson. You have started doing village magic. By afternoon, things became even worse, or better, depending on who was suffering. Old Mama Nosy approached carrying firewood. She smiled. My son, good afternoon. Before she spoke again, Uzor blurted, Yes, your missing goat is inside Uncle Okeke's compound. Mama Nosy nearly dropped her firewood. Who told you? Uzor scratched his head. Your face? She rushed away. Minutes later, the whole village heard shouting, Thief! I knew you stole my goat. Uncle Okeke ran after the goat, insisting it had mistakenly followed him home. By evening, half the village was asking one question. How does Uzor know everything? Little did they realize, this strange new gift was only beginning.
By the end of that week, Abriba community had reached only one conclusion. Uzor had either become a prophet or he had swallowed a radio. Nobody could explain how the boy always seemed to know things before they happened. He knew which woman had secretly hidden money inside a bag of gari. He knew which little boy had stolen mangoes and blamed the neighbor's goat. He even walked up to the village blacksmith one afternoon and said, "Your wife already knows you broke her favorite clay pot." The blacksmith nearly fainted. "I haven't even gone home yet." Uzor smiled awkwardly. "I know, but she knows." The man abandoned his hammer and started planning an apology before sunset. Soon, villagers began avoiding Uzor whenever they were hiding something. Whenever he approached, conversations suddenly changed. "Good afternoon. Ah, wonderful weather today." Meanwhile, inside their heads, "Please don't mention the money under my mattress. Please don't tell my husband I ate the last piece of fish. Please don't ask about my second girlfriend." Poor Uzor heard everything. He covered his ears so often that people thought mosquitoes had declared war on him. One afternoon, he groaned to himself, "Who knew adults think so much nonsense?" Life became even harder during Sunday service. The priest stood before the congregation, preaching passionately, "My children, we must all tell the truth." The church responded, "Amen." Then Uzor heard the priest's thoughts. "I hope nobody asks how many meat pies I ate before the fasting began." Uzor burst into uncontrollable laughter. The entire church turned. "Why are you laughing?" the priest asked. Uzor quickly shook his head. "No reason." The priest narrowed his eyes. "You're thinking something." "If only you knew," Uzor whispered. Days later, everything changed. It happened during the bustling Nkwo market. People shouted prices. Women bargained loudly. Children chased chickens. Palm wine sellers entertained travelers with endless stories. Uzor wandered through the crowd eating roasted corn. Then he bumped shoulders with 3 strangers. Nothing unusual, until he heard them. Not with his ears, with his mind. "The eastern path is poorly guarded. We'll strike after the masquerade dance. Tie up the chief first. Take the children before anyone reacts. Burn the food barns. Collect the sacred bronze staff." He froze. His roasted corn slipped from his hands. His heart pounded violently. He slowly turned. The 3 men smiled politely, but inside their minds lived darkness. These were not traders. They were criminals, dangerous ones, planning to attack Abriba during the Grand Harvest Festival, when every family would be gathered in the village square. Uzor ran home so fast that even the village dogs refused to chase him. He burst into his father's workshop. "Dad, they're coming!" Mr. Chidi looked up from the bicycle he was repairing. "Who's coming?" "Bad men. They're planning to attack the village." His father sighed. "Uzor, did you climb another forbidden tree?" "No, I heard them." "You heard them saying all that?" "Not exactly." Mr. Chidi folded his arms. "Then how?" Uzor opened his mouth, then remembered the elder spirit's warning. This gift was not for showing off. "I just know." His father shook his head. "My son, I love you, but nobody arrests strangers because my stubborn son has a feeling." He went to the chief. The chief laughed kindly. "You've always had a powerful imagination." He went to the hunters. They smiled. "Go and play." Even the priest patted his shoulder. "My son, too many folk tales before bedtime." Nobody believed him, because he was Uzor, the same boy who once tried to teach a goat how to climb a ladder. 3 nights later, the village gathered for the Harvest Moon Festival. Drums echoed joyfully. Masquerades danced through the square. Children laughed around bonfires. Women served steaming pots of jollof rice, pepper soup, and pounded yam. Men toasted with palm wine. Everything looked perfect. Then Uzor heard it. Not a voice, a thought. Now. He spun round. The same three strangers stood at the edge of the forest. Except they were no longer smiling. More armed men emerged behind them. Machetes, torches, ropes. One thought after another crashed into Uzor's mind. Take the chief first. Set fire to the western barns. Don't let anyone reach the talking drum. Kill anyone who resists. His blood turned cold. This was it. Without thinking, Uzor grabbed the giant talking drum. Boom! 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 The entire celebration stopped. People stared at him. "Uzor, what are you doing?" He shouted with every ounce of strength he had. "Hunters! They're here! They're attacking!" The chief frowned. What attack? At that exact moment, an arrow flew from the darkness. It struck the chief's empty chair. Gasps exploded across the square. The criminals charged. Chaos erupted. But Uzor already knew every move they intended to make. He heard each thought seconds before it became action. "Attack from the left! Left!" Uzor shouted. The hunters intercepted them. "Burn the barn! Protect the barns!" Villagers rushed to stop the fire. "Kidnap the children! The children!" Mothers immediately gathered every child. The attackers became confused. Nothing was going according to plan. Every secret strategy Uzor already knew. The leader growled, "Who is telling them?" Uzor smiled, "You are." The battle lasted only minutes. The hunters surrounded the criminals. The village youth overpowered the remaining attackers. The chief's guards tied them securely. As dawn painted the sky with orange light, the danger had passed. Not a single child had been taken. Not one barn had burned. No innocent life had been lost. The entire village stood in stunned silence. Finally, the oldest hunter spoke. If that boy hadn't warned us, he couldn't finish the sentence. The chief slowly walked towards Uzor, the same boy everyone had laughed at, the same boy nobody believed. He placed both hands on Uzor's shoulders. "My son, how did you know?" Uzor looked towards the distant river. He smiled quietly. "Sometimes you only hear the truth when you stop listening with your ears." The chief studied his face. He understood there was more to the answer, but he asked no further questions. Some mysteries deserved respect. That evening, the entire village gathered beneath the ancient Iroko tree. For the first time in living memory, the chief called a meeting to honor a child. He raised his carved staff. For years, we called Uzor stubborn. Laughter spread gently through the crowd. The chief smiled. To be honest, he still is. Even Uzor laughed. But today, we have learned something. Curiosity without kindness becomes trouble. But curiosity guided by a pure heart can become wisdom. He turned to the children gathered in front. Never laugh at someone simply because they are different. The child everyone misunderstands today may become the hero everyone celebrates tomorrow. Thunderous applause erupted. Mr. Chidi wiped tears from his eyes. "I spent 12 years trying to change this boy." Mrs. Chidi smiled, "And God spent 12 years preparing him." She hugged Uzor tightly. "I suppose your stubbornness wasn't completely useless after all." Uzor grinned. "I told you." His father laughed. "Don't push your luck." From that day forward, children no longer copied Uzor's stubbornness. Instead, they copied his courage, his kindness, his honesty. Whenever someone mocked another child for asking too many questions, the elders would smile and say, "Careful, the next Uzor may be sitting beside you." As for Uzor, he never returned to the sacred river, not because he was afraid, but because he had finally learned something even greater than curiosity. Some mysteries are not meant to be conquered, they are meant to be respected. Sometimes the greatest gift isn't seeing what others cannot see, it's using that gift to protect those who cannot see the danger coming. Thank you for listening. Kindly subscribe to this YouTube channel to get updates and enjoy more stories like this.